Hello everyone, this is Annette with ASCardDesign. Today we're making a card using GinaKDesigns Whimsical Primrose Layering Stencil. So let's get started. Today we're using GinaKDesigns art stencils in Whimsical Primrose, and these are layering stencils. They come in 4 different layers, and each one is marked. So when you get her layering stencils that create something, they are labeled. You can also get a coordinating die with this set, but we're not going to be using that today. Just using the stencil. And today we'll show you how to make this beautiful card that you saw at the intro. And I'll be using 4 different ink colors in blues and greens. We're using a light and a darker blue, and then also the greens. And the colors are sea glass, blue lagoon, medium, and dark spruce. And all the products I use in today's video will be in the description. I'm also using a Simon Says Stamp grip mat, which you see on my mat here. And this is a sticky mat that will hold my cardstock. And I store it in this piece of parchment paper. It's a nice way to store it, and it won't stick to the paper. And so what I'm going to do is get a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to start with a 1/4 sheet piece of white cardstock, and I'll get that and stick that down to my mat. And the mat just holds the card in place. It'll hold the stencils in place, and it's just really nice when you're doing ink blending. And I'm bringing in my ink stand, which will hold the inks nicely as I work and just makes them really nice and holds them still so I really freeze my hands up so I can do the ink blending. All right, so I'm getting my stencils, and as I said, there are 4, and this will create a nice floral element. And Gina K's layering stencils are etched, and what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure they're going the right way. I'm making sure that etching is in the bottom left corner on all of my stencils, and they're numbered 1 through 4, so I'm wanting to put them in order. And I'm trying to show you the etching, and it's really hard to capture that on camera, but um, so I'm just paying attention to that and getting them lined up, which will just make the ink blending a little easier. And this takes me a minute or 2, and I was going to edit this out, but I thought, no, this is real time. You get to see, just how we organize our supplies to just make the project go smoother. So this is layer number 1, and I'm just putting it down on the card panel, and I will die cut these later, and I'll show you that. But I'm just laying it down on the card panel, and you can see the stencil is sticking nicely to the Simon Says Stamp grip mat. Um, if you don't have one, really consider this. I used to tape my cardstock down, but this is just so much nicer. So I'm just grabbing some ink blending brushes, and I'm struggling here because I grabbed a darker brush than I wanted to use with the lighter color of the sea glass. So, and I was grabbing a paper towel because the brush that I did grab was a little crunchy. I hadn't used it in a while. So I'm still trying to figure all that out. So I think I just sprayed off camera the paper towel with some rubbing alcohol, and I'm just wiping the brush over that, and that will help loosen up the bristles and get any of the old ink off, because I really don't know, especially this brush right here. It was very crunchy, and I did not know what ink I used prior to, so I was just giving that a good cleaning. Here I am with the alcohol and the rubbing alcohol, and I'm just really giving that brush a good quick clean, and the rubbing alcohol dries very quickly, so you can go from the paper towel to the ink pad right away. So that's much better, and it's much smoother now. So I am ready to roll. So I'm opening up the lid for the sea glass, and we'll just get some ink on the brush and lay down some ink on that card panel. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the blooms and work my way up. And I'm just going to start with a medium hand, not too heavy and definitely not too light. I do want to see this color on the cardstock. So just work your color in circular motions and go one way and then go the other way so you hit all the edges of the stencil. And just take your time and make sure you get color everywhere. Now that top flower right there has a little piece that's kind of floating, and I'm just being mindful of that because I don't want the bristles of my brush to go underneath it, because that is masking off that part of the flower and it will be a white line, and I want to preserve that, so I don't want the bristles to get underneath that. So I'm just being very careful. And I have the sea glass down, and I'm going to use you'll see here in a second, an old pick tool. One end has a blunt end, and I'm kind of using that to pry my stencil off of the grip mat because it's really stuck down and it's hard to get it with just your fingernail. So using a tool to help me, and then that is layer number 1. And I'm just gonna I'll clean that off later with that rubbing alcohol. And you'll see when I use the darker color, I will show you that, because the darker inks can stain and you like to clean the stencils off quickly. Here I'm just pointing out that the bottom left corner is where I want my etching, and I'm just lining up that part of the stencil with that flower. And you just want to take your time and line up your stencils till you don't see any more white edges, and then you know that your stencil is lined up. And I'm just securing it again to the grip mat, and then we're going to go in with Blue Lagoon this time, and this is a beautiful color. It's one of my favorite blues. It just reminds me of the ocean. So I'm just putting that in, again working from the bottom of the blooms upward and going in circular motion both directions. And then just take your time and get all that ink down. And then here I will lift up the stencil, and I think this is the stencil I go ahead and clean, because I was going to do it later, but then I decided I might as well do it now, because the dye inks, the pigment can stain. You can clean them and they'll be great and good to use, but sometimes they do stain. But that's okay. But anyway, I just thought I would show you and just go ahead and spray. I am going to spray the rubbing alcohol away from my cardstock, so I do that off camera. But then I'll bring the stencil back in and show you. You just gently wipe it off, and the ink comes right off. And like I said, it dries almost immediately. Okay, so then next I will go ahead and get my third layering stencil, and this is the first stencil of the leaves and the stems. So I'm just looking at that stem right there, and I'm going to line it up to that little flower. And then I can look at the other pieces and line them up. And sometimes it sticks when I don't want it to stick. So you just pick it back up, line it up, and take your time, because you do want everything to line up before you start putting the ink down. And that looks good. So we're going to go in with the medium spruce. Yes, medium spruce. And the next color, dark spruce, it almost looks black sitting up there, but it's a very, very rich, dark, like piney color. It's very pretty. But right now we're doing the medium spruce, again getting all the leaves both directions. And this just really comes together. It's starting to come together now, and I really love layering stencils because they're so easy to do, they're easy to color. It's sometimes hard to color and stay in the lines, but layering stencils just make that so easy, and I really enjoy doing them. All right, one more color to go, one more stencil to go, and then this design will be done. So I'm going to pick that up. And I think I just cleaned the rest of these off camera, but you can really see that design coming together. So here is the fourth and final stencil, and this will do the centers of the flowers and highlight on the leaves. Now this dark spruce is going to make the center part of the flower look black, which is fine. It's just that dark green on the blue will give it a black effect. And then the dark spruce will be a nice highlight on the leaves. So we'll get that color down. And I think I'm pointing that out right now, that those areas are going to look really dark. And then again, I'm working from the base out. I always like to work from the base of flowers or the base of leaves, because right when you start stenciling, where you start is going to be your darkest or more saturated color. So naturally, in nature, the base of the flower and the base of the leaves are darker because the light isn't hitting them. So we'll just finish putting the color on and then reveal. We'll take the stencil off and you'll see this beautiful image on the card panel. And I'm trying to get that off of the grip mat. There we go. All right. And so now you have this beautiful floral image, and I'm just going to clean up everything. And actually, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this Master Layouts 14 from Gina K, and I'm going to use the postage die. I'm going to cut this panel off camera, but I'm showing you the die, the postage stamp die. And I also went ahead and used the other die to cut a panel. So here I am with the postage stamp already cut out, and you can see that panel has just transformed into this beautiful postage design. And I'm going to leave that intact. You can cut them apart, but I'm leaving it alone. And then that other die is the panel, the matte layer, I'm sorry. So the panel will get glued onto the matte layer. And so that's Gina K's Master Layouts 14. So now I'm putting the panel back onto the grip mat. We're going to do a little bit more stamping. And I'm going to be using from GinaKDesigns the Postage Cards and More stamp. And these little stamps they're very tiny, but they have such cute elements. And since I'm making this an anniversary card for my brother and sister-in-law, I'm going to use the stamps that say forever and always, and then some of the postage. I think I pulled 30 cents, but I am going to show you how to get these tiny stamps onto a stamping block, and also it's very important to do a practice round, and you'll see why in a minute, because I make a big mistake, and I'm glad I did it on my scrap paper and not on the card panel, because I would have had to start all over. So here we're using Gina K's black Onyx ink, and that's what I'll use for my stamping. And then this is her acrylic comfort block, and these are very nice. They're easy to hold and they're very comfortable. So I'm just looking at this stamp and trying to decide which stamps at this point that I want to use, because I kind of went back and forth with this, but I really liked the forever and always, the two separate stamps. One says forever and the other one says and always. And I'm going to start with those. And then I'm going to use that 30-cent stamp a little bit later. So what I'm going to do here is, the easiest way that I find to get these tiny little stamps onto the acrylic block is just to put the stamp onto my surface and pick them up with the block. That's just the easiest way for me. And you can line it up. The blocks have a grid. These particular blocks have a grid line on them, and you can line up stamps quite easily. And let's see. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, I'm getting my little piece of scrap paper. Very important step. All right, so it's also important when you're stamping these little stamped details. You know, you've already taken the time to make this beautiful design, so I like to do practice stamps just to make sure the ink is on and it's stamping good. And so that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just kind of deciding where I want to put this and always. So at the top left corner, I'm going to put forever, and then I just stamped and always. And then I'm going to just gently wipe the ink off with my GinaKDesigns Tidy Towel. And I'm going to put this away right away because these stamps are tiny. And this little trick is fun. I just put the stamp on my surface and take the carry sheet and just pick up the stamp, and it's put away. Just easy as that. So here is the forever stamp. And again, I'm just picking that up with my block, giving it ink, and then I'll test it. And I'll ink it again. And here's where I show you I stamped it upside down. So that would have ruined my card. So I'm so glad I tested it first. So I had the stamp upside down. But it's all corrected, and that is the forever stamp right there. And again, we'll go ahead and put that away. And we'll just pick that up. And then here comes the teeny tiny 30 cent. I mean, this thing is about the quarter size of my thumbnail. It is so small. And I'm just going to practice because I just don't want to put too much pressure because this is such a fine detail stamp and I want to be able to see it. And pardon my head, I had to really look straight onto this card to make sure I was getting this just right. And I did. It came out just fine. All right, so I think I do one more from this. I used this little cute stamp that's the postage cancellation stamp. And I really like this. So this really added the finishing touch for me. And this area is where I'm going to put my greeting. So I'm going to cancel here and there and a few other places. And I just think that that finishes off this panel. And we'll put one more there. All right. I have to say GinaK's Master Layouts 14 is probably my favorite one. I make a lot of postage cards, postage stamp style cards. And you can also cut those apart. If you just take your scissors and cut in the middle of those dotted lines, then they look like individual stamps and you can make a collage and you can layer them. There's just a lot you can do. And here I noticed that one of the little holes did not poke out, and it's hard to see here, but when I lift up the card right there, the grip mat, it stuck to the grip mat, so it came out. So that's the panel. And we are done inking, we're done stamping. So I am going to just clean up my work area a little bit. And I am going to clean off my grip mat with just the damp tidy towel. You don't want to put rubbing alcohol or any solvent. This is the same material that your stamps are made out of. So I just, for the dye inks, the water works well. And here I'm just putting it right back into my parchment paper. Because I keep this in a drawer, and that way things don't get stuck to it and it stays nice and clean. All right, so next I'm going to add a little more detail to this. Well, actually, first I'm going to put it onto my panel. So we'll go ahead and get this glued down. And I'm using GinaK Connect glue. And again, all the products I use will be in the description. And if you're enjoying this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe. I put a video up on Wednesdays. I try to do a live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And on Sundays at 1 p.m. I have a scheduled video every week. And those times are Eastern. So I'd love to have you. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification, and you'll get a subtle notification when I put up a video. But I'm struggling here getting this panel lined up with the mat, and it's probably just only me and no one else would notice, but I just do like to try to get them as centered as possible. So that is on, and I think I'm going to zoom in here because I want to show you some detail that I'm going to put. I'm going to use this product, and it's called Wink of Stella. And this is a glitter pen. It's like a brush, like it has like glitter in paint. I don't know how to, it's like a gel pen, but you brush it on, and the glitter, when it dries, the glitter is stuck there. It does not fall off, and I really love it. It adds immediate detail and shine without the glitter, falling all over the place. So I'm just going to brush it over some of the areas of the flowers, pretty much the base of the flowers, and you can see right there, it's just immediate. It's really cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all of these, and I do think I cut out most of this part of the video just so you don't have to watch it all, but I just go around and do kind of the bases of all of these flowers. Then I will show you towards the end. This is me finishing up that, and you can see where all those bases have that shimmer and shine now, and I just love it. I love Wink of Stella. And now I'm just using a card base, which is 110-pound cardstock, and it's a US A2 side folding card base, and I'm going to be taping it shut with some low-tack tape because I want it to lie flat so I can glue my panel onto it. And then there you see, I'm just going to take the GinaK Connect glue and get that down on my card base. This card is almost finished. We just have to put the sentiment strip on there, but isn't that cute? I love the postage stamp cards. And then I made a sentiment strip earlier, and this is the same color cardstock as the matte layer, and I used Hero Arts. Excuse me, I used Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White Embossing Powder along with GinaKDesigns White Premium Pigment Ink and Simon Says Stamp Embossing and Watermark ink. And I used the Hero Arts stamp set. I don't have the name of this, but I used the Happy Anniversary stamp from that set and um, the die to cut the strip out. And I cut 2 extra layers and glued them to the back of the sentiment strip just to give it a little loft, a little lift, just to add a little bit of dimension to this card. And then I'm just taking my reverse tweezers and gluing that to the card front. And we'll just put it in that bottom right corner. And there you go. This card is almost done. I really like the way it came out. I love the shimmer and the shine. And I want to thank you all for joining me today. Be sure to like and subscribe. I put a video up every Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I try to do a live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I would love to have you join me. Until then, make it a great week.